The virtual fuel matrix. I have stated on many occasions that technology not only extends our reach, but enables us to identify a multiplicity of targets. This enables us to home in on potential targets with greater ease, gather intelligence about them for the purposes of aiding our ensnarement of the target, maintain our grip even when we are not physically proximate, and gather fuel when not in the same room as the relevant appliance. Yet, it is technology that assists us to such an extensive degree, and therefore, is it merely an extension to our existing needs and manipulations as opposed to a substitute? Might we ensnare somebody who lives thousands of miles from us on the other side of the planet? If we do so, how does that fit into our fuel matrix? What is that person to us? How does the dynamic play out? And what does this mean for the empathic victim? Naturally, the increase in technological reach, its ease and frequency of availability means that we are going to avail ourselves of this development in attending to our needs. We will use this technology in three main ways. Firstly, where we have ensnared individuals who we interact with in a physical, proximate fashion, we use technology to maintain our hold and to manipulate. Thus, we have an intimate partner primary source, IPPS, who we see most days in the flesh, but we send text messages, speak by telephone, engage in FaceTime conversations, and use email to draw fuel, manipulate, and exert control. We see our friends, non-intimate secondary sources, NISSs, every so often, meeting to have a drink, play sport, see a film, or just catch up. Yet again, we will engage with them through technology. Secondly, we use technology to find those who we will ultimately meet in person. Technology allows us to cast our net wide, weed out those who are unsuitable, select several prospects at once, and use minimal effort to seduce them and gather information about them to use to further our needs. Thirdly, we will use this technology to cultivate and maintain a stable of appliances for the purposes of bolstering our fuel matrices. This is the virtual fuel matrix. All of our kind have them. Some may be minor in nature, some not often used, although this is rare, whilst others are extensive and relied on significantly by the narcissist. Others alternate through relying on the physical fuel matrix for the most part, and periodically turning to the virtual fuel matrix in certain instances. This third use is the focus of this article. This particular use has many variations with regard to the narcissistic dynamic. There are countless variations which will arise with regard to the composition of the virtual fuel matrix, the use that is made of it, the fuel gathered, and how it fits into the narcissist's overall fuel matrix. But consider these examples for instance. 1. A lesser victim narcissist who, as a consequence of health issues, is confined to home. He has a dutiful carrier empath as the IPPS. There are a handful of family members and friends, NISSs, who call round every so often, but the lower victim narcissist, not only with these appliances through technology to interact with them, he also goes online repeatedly to interact with a stable of tertiary sources, some of whom become non-intimate secondary sources owing to the frequency of interaction. He does this through messaging, chat rooms, and the like, but he does not speak to them or see them other than pictures on profiles. He never physically meets any of them. He has no interest in any sexual intimate interaction with them. What is the status of these appliances which connect the narcissist through technology in this scenario? Here, the lesser victim narcissist is likely to engage with normal non-intimate tertiary sources and a mixture of normal and empathic non-intimate secondary sources. He will home in on the empathic non-intimate secondary sources with a greater intensity. The fuel provided will be of low to moderate potency. The quantity provided will be low to moderate because although he may spend hours each day engaging with them, it is through the written word only, and this is the poorest form of conveying fuel. The frequency is high. The appliances that he engages with will be content to engage in this manner and are unlikely to want more interaction or indeed push for any physical meeting with the narcissist. Scenario 2. A mid-range somatic narcissist. She has an intimate partner primary source in her husband and has 2 shelf intimate partner secondary sources on the side. She has a number of non-intimate secondary sources in her physical fuel matrix through friends, family, colleagues, and neighbours, and therefore she has a solid physical fuel matrix. She, however, likes to head to her bolt hole and comb through dating sites and chat rooms, connecting with a myriad of tertiary sources. Some she will flirt with, sending pictures and so forth on just the one occasion. Accordingly, some of these people become non-intimate tertiary sources, but those she interacts with as a one-off and engages sexual contact with are intimate partner tertiary sources, IPTS. The others that she engages with repeatedly, and not only sexts with those individuals, talks dirty down the telephone, but sends naked pictures and receives them from a steady stable of half a dozen men. She does not send videos, but will accept them. This group that she interacts with is made up of intimate partner secondary sources, IPSSs. She has no intention of meeting any of them, but gathers fuel from these nightly forays through various methods of communication. In this scenario, the non-intimate tertiary sources and the intimate partner tertiary sources will largely be normals and those with higher narcissistic traits, but not narcissists. The intimate partner secondary sources that she engages with are likely to be a mixture of narcissists and empaths. The former are looking to ensnare her, unaware of what she is, and the latter are bewitched by this attractive lady paying them such attention, and they are hoping to meet her in the flesh in due course. The fuel provided will be of low to quite high potency because of the intimacy which is injected into these proceedings. The quantity will be from low to quite high because whilst some will just be sexting, there are telephone conversations and videos which increase the quantity because she can hear and see reactions. The frequency is high during the hour or two she engages in this behaviour, and then of course drops off when she no longer engages with these individuals. Scenario 3. A mid-range cerebral narcissist. He has an intimate partner primary source in his wife. He naturally draws proximate fuel from her because they live together and see each other every day. Her fundamental role, however, is provider of residual benefits alongside this fuel as she runs the home and runs round off the mid-range narcissist. Something of a loner, he does not really have any friends and prefers not to engage much with his colleagues, other than when he has to do so for reasons of work. Similarly, he only engages intermittently with family members. He looks down on them all, seeing them as inferior to his intellect and not worthy of any interaction. He prefers to sit in the relational tower and lock himself each night in his bolt hole, and from there he spends his time Skyping people who share an interest in his academic interests, debating with them and rubbishing their theories. These people are non-intimate tertiary sources and non-intimate secondary sources. This narcissist also delights in going to particular websites and blogs where he engages in trolling, although from his perspective he merely sees it as him putting the morons straight on their lack of intellect and understanding. The indignant responses from non-intimate tertiary sources provides him with fuel, albeit of low potency and in small amounts. Nevertheless, he experiences little risk of being wounded, as there is no actual physical interaction with these people. They will not reject him by turning away or failing to acknowledge him across a crowded bar. Instead, when they fall silent after he has trounced them in a Skype conversation or through the written word, he savours that as evidence of his victory. He either sees their angry or irritated expression and gains fuel, or derives thought fuel from imagining their wailing and gnashing of teeth and having been defeated by his superior intellect. In this third scenario, the non-intimate tertiary sources and non-intimate secondary sources will be a mixture of normals and empaths, with the occasional narcissist inadvertently captured also. The fuel provided will be of low to moderate potency, as there is no intimacy involved. However, the quantity will range from low to quite high, because the mid-range cerebral narcissist sees the reaction of the appliances and hears it when he Skypes and uses FaceTime. The frequency is high because the mid-range cerebral narcissist prefers to operate from the bolt hole in this manner, to keep drawing on this extensive virtual fuel matrix. The appliances will be content to keep the interaction as it is. One or two non-intimate secondary sources may actually prefer to meet, but they will not press hard for this to happen. Scenario 4. A greater somatic narcissist. Away on business and in a hotel room, he has a ready-made stable of individuals with whom he engages in sexting, the acquisition of naked pictures and videos, and who are intimate partner secondary sources. He goes further and engages in mutual masturbation sessions with these IPSSs through FaceTime, Skype, or occasionally, if seeing is not an option, purely by telephone. He will, however, to cause worlds to collide, and coerce these IPSSs to visit him when he travels, so that his virtual stable of intimate partner secondary sources will provide even more fuel and residual benefits by being commanded to meet him in hotel rooms across the globe. His sexual imagination, prowess, and ability to configure IPSS connections in different continents means that whilst he will use this stable to draw fuel virtually, he also uses it to occasion the physical connection too. In this fourth scenario, leaving aside the physical interaction that the narcissist brings about, that is of course the physical fuel matrix, with regard to the virtual element, the potency will be quite high, because these are all intimate partner secondary sources. The greater will have chosen empaths for the most part, although he may also draw in a lesser or mid-range narcissist into the matrix. The quantity will range from medium to quite high, because he can see and hear the responses of the appliances. The frequency will be low to moderate, as the greater will use the physical interaction far more extensively than the virtual. He turns to the virtual fuel matrix when travelling between places, or in a place where he is limited in time and opportunity to hunt down suitable appliances, and therefore he prefers to bolt on the ready-made one, which is always there, when he chooses to engage with it through technology. In this instance, the appliances will want more. They will press for greater engagement with the narcissist, and may well be granted it as shelf IPSSs or dirty little secrets, arising from the virtual matrix to begin with. Many will want the formality of a proper relationship with the greater, but they will not be granted it. Scenario 5. A mid-range elite narcissist. He lives alone. He has family in the city where he lives, who he sees intermittently, and various friends and colleagues, who he sees quite often, and therefore has a large bank of non-intimate secondary sources to draw on. He, however, interacts with one source every single day. He is in Europe, and she is in the Middle East. They speak on the telephone frequently through the day. They Skype often, and for hours at a time, watching the same films, although in different continents, effectively going on virtual dates. They have never met. They see each other through Skype and FaceTime, they swap nude pictures, they engage in mutual masturbation. They even have Skype still going on in the background when they fall asleep, one watching the other sleep, often owing to the difference in time zones. They have never touched one another, never smelled one another, never felt skin on skin, yet spent hours with one another through the power of technology. In this fifth scenario, this scenario is one which requires a more detailed examination, and this will arise in the forthcoming video, The Loneliness of the Long Distance Empath.